Thank you for tuning in to Know Wine in No Time. I'm your host Dave, and today we'll discuss wine classifications from around the world. And we'll start in the United States. In the United States, we use a term called AVA, and that stands for American Viticultural Area. So let's think about probably the most famous AVA in the United States. That's Napa Valley. So any wine that comes out of the Napa Valley, as long as a certain percentage of the grapes are sourced within the Napa Valley, they can use AVA Napa Valley. However, if indeed those grapes are sourced within a specific area, an area that maybe has a specific uniqueness to it, something special, a differentiator, then they can use a sub-AVA. So a good example of that, this is a wine, a Cabernet Sauvignon, from the Mayacamas producer. And this particular one clearly says that it's from Mount Veeder. So Mount Veeder is a sub-AVA in Napa Valley, and we clearly see Mount Veeder and Napa Valley written on the label itself. So this can help you when you go to a wine store to pick out a wine. You can think about, am I getting wine or getting wine that has grapes sourced from a specific area, or one that's a little bit more special in a sub-AVA. Now on to France. When we look at France, they use a system called AOC, and that stands for Appellation Origine Contrôlée. So the origine part actually is substituted with the place. So it's appellation, the place, and then contrôlé. To the French, the thing that makes their wine unique is the specific place that it comes from. When we look at France, we have incredible diversity from north, south, east, and west, and wines that are produced maybe a few miles apart can be distinctively different. So a good example of this is this Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Clearly we can see on the label it says Appellation Châteauneuf-du-Pape Contrôlée. So that tells us that these grapes were sourced in the region of Châteauneuf-du-Pape and used specifically to make this wine. Moving on to Italy. Italy has an extremely complex layered system of defining the wine's quality, and it all ties into, like the French, the sense of place. So in Italy we have a DOC and DOCG system. So this stands for Denominazione di Origine Controllata. So DOC, and that would be for a wine that is from a specific area. The grapes were sourced in that specific area, but maybe it's not to the level that it needs to be a DOCG wine, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So a good example is this Montefalco Rosso. So Montefalco is a town in Umbria, Italy, and their king grape is a grape called Sagretino. This particular wine, a Rosso, which means red, blends Sagretino with some other grapes in that area. So when the Italians look at that, they say, well, the sense of place and the sense of purpose has been compromised, so we're going to downgrade that just one level to a DOC. Now DOC is noted by a little band on the neck of the bottle itself, so you can always look for that and see. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with a DOC level wine, it just means that it's the second tier as opposed to the top tier. So let's look at DOCG. So this is where we add the word garantita. So this specific wine is one that comes from an area. The yields are measured and monitored by the Italian government. The aging of the wine is specific and has to be adhered to, and everything is extremely tight. So when we look at this particular wine, this is a DOCG level wine from a town called Montalcino. So this is a Brunello di Montalcino, and this is made 100% from Sangiovese grapes. This particular wine is mandated to spend 2 years in oak barrels and then be aged an additional 2 years before it can be released. So when we look at Italy's highest level of wine, we can always look for the DOCG label on the bottle. So hopefully that gives you a little insight into the classification of wine around the world. I do realize it's a complex, very complicated system, but just using these techniques, looking for AOC, DOC, DOCG, or AVA, can make you a more savvy consumer. So that's all the time we have for today. Tune in next time, and soon you'll know wine in no time.